Hello, good evening. First, we want to say hello and thank everyone for coming out to the project, the kickoff event for the Colours4Crafts project. My name is Dustin Neighbors, and I am the project coordinator for Colours4Crafts. This is an exciting project. It's truly interdisciplinary, involving a variety of disciplines and a fantastic group of enthusiastic group of consortium members and experts in their field. This project is also exciting because it connects the past to the present and the future. Just a quick overview of how things will go this evening. We'll begin with an introduction with the project PI, Professor Riikka Raithanen. Then we will have three of our working group present their expertise and contribution to the project. After the introductions, we will have a panel discussion between the consortium members to highlight the significance and impact of the project. Following this, we will open up our event to Q&A from the audience. If you are online, you will be able to participate and submit questions via the chat. I will be moderating them, and then I will read out the questions as you submit the questions in the chat. And finally, our program will conclude with closing remarks from the Dean of the Faculty of Educational Sciences, Johanna Mäkelä. Thank you again for joining us this evening. We hope that you enjoy hearing and learning about the Colours4Crafts project. Let's kick it off with our first presentation with Professor Riikka Raithanen.
Okay, welcome to this kickoff meeting of Colour4Crafts. What is Colour4Crafts? It's a research project that started in the beginning of July this year, and it's funded by the European Union from the Horizon called Heritage. Culture, creativity, and inclusive society. And the topic of this funding call was traditional crafts for the future, a new approach. So I thought that this is really a topical and important theme. Also, as a professor of craft science, I think that it's good to look the traditions and also look the future, how we can bring the craft traditions to the future and try to catch the new approaches. So then if we spell out these crafts in the heading or topic of the program, we come to combining, re-engineering, applying, futuring, transforming, and stretching. Altogether, there are 5 countries involved and 6 research institutes. University of Helsinki is the leading university and craft science in the Faculty of Educational Sciences. Then we have also the chemistry department from the Faculty of Natural Sciences participating. So this is also within the University of Helsinki research projects that really combines different faculties as well. Then we have University of Lapland from Finland, University of Tartu from East Estonia, University of Leeds from United Kingdom, and Kik-Irpa Heritage Institute from Belgium, and then the last one is Pili, a company from France. So altogether we do research in this project. So what is this Colour for combining, re-engineering, applying, futuring, transforming, stretching? What do we do with these actions? Colour4 combining, we combine multidisciplinary teams of experts, and these researchers are top experts in archaeology and history, textiles and coloration, technology and chemistry, art, crafts, and education. We combine methodologies of history, artifact research and cultural studies, art and craft research, research methods of natural sciences, and future studies are all applied. We also combine tradition with emerging cutting-edge technologies, which means that we want to revive, valorize, and foster traditional craft techniques, and at the same time combine them with novel technologies and bring coloration practices into the new level. And this bringing the coloration technologies to new level is the main target of the Colour4CRAFTS project. As we know, a lot of current environmental challenges are related to colorants production and textile coloration processes. We will also combine knowledge from northeastern Baltic area, which is a more rarely research area of the textile artifacts. And then we will combine this knowledge with well-known Central European and UK knowledge of dyes and dyeing practices. We also combine data and knowledge from different disciplines and methodologies. Color for re-engineering. We want to think colors and processes in a new, unexpected way. What was done in the past, what is done now, and what could be done in the future. As we have already studied history, we know that there were engineering and technical knowledge in the past, but we want to develop things further and think about something what is not done yet. Color for applying. We are applying mixed methodologies using both qualitative and quantitative data. We apply several types of source materials and cross-reference them. We use written sources, artifacts, archaeological and historical remnants, data of redoing processes, and to convert the sensory bodily experience and the impact of colors into text. We apply cutting-edge technologies for production of bio-based colorants and apply them with different techniques to a variety of materials. What about the futuring? We want to create more sustainable technologies for the future's coloration. And in this, education and communication has an important role. Students' engagement is an important part of the project, and courses and workshops will be organized where students can examine color from different perspectives. As a multidisciplinary research group, we want to, through futures research methodologies, provide futures, visions, and path to most desirable coloration and textile production path in Europe. Color for transforming. We want to foster coloration tradition and craft skill related to coloration and its transformation into future's green industries in two levels, in craft practices and in the industrial level. Transformation of traditional processes through recreation and documentation, data analysis and knowledge into waterless textile coloration practices. Through research, we develop educational packages to support traditional craft skills and their transformation into 21st century practices. Color for stretching. We will speculate the aspects of future in many ways. For example, using the story of indigotin, the blue color, as one path. We want to speculate the concept of alchemy, use experiential knowledge and everyday thinking to challenge and stretch the boundaries of experience. We want to stretch technologies, what current technologies allows us to do, and we want to do what we want to do that does not yet exist. We also want to stretch values. And how can we do things differently? A multi-layered set of values is needed as a background when aiming to foster Europe's cultural heritage in textile coloration and craft skills related to coloration. We examine the nature of color in culture, determine the role of color in traditional textile crafts, as well as cultural drivers for color choice, and current society's relationship with color. We examine how we value color also in the context of health and well-being. Should our values change if we aim for sustainable and green future? Well, what are the expected outcomes? Project should contribute to at least two of the following expected outcomes. Revive, valorize, and foster traditional craft techniques to combine them with new and emerging cutting-edge technologies, and bring together the traditional know-how with new technologies to develop improved and new products, services, and professions. We also improve and develop methodologies, curricula, entrepreneurship skills and courses, and create sustainable relationships and networks. So we'll look at traditional craft and in the past, and creative sector in the current context, and new and cutting-edge technologies in the future. And here we see that we have the three paths in the research. We have the tradition and history, art and craft, and science and coloration, science of coloration and colorants. We also have stakeholders involved in every path of these studies. And this futures and stretching is kind of a cross-cutting theme along the research. Our impact would be on scientific level, on economic, and also on societal and cultural level. And at this point, I want to conclude with the phrase of the futures researchers. We shape the future, and our images of the future shape us. Our visions of the future have an impact on how we act here and now, and what kind of decisions we make for the future. And therefore, I call everybody to join our social media and follow our research along the forthcoming 3 years. Thank you. And then the next presentation is Krista Vricht. She's an archaeologist, and she will present the work in the history path.
Yep. So, hello everybody. Just trying to find my slides. Oh, it's this one. Yep. So, thank you, Riikka. And as Riikka already explained, the core idea of the Colour4CRAFTS project is to create sustainable dyeing technology for the present and to inspire colorful future technology. For this, the project is looking for inspiration from the past. Since still in the recent past, 150 years ago, all textiles were dyed with natural colorants. Working Group 2 will focus on the research of dyeing tradition and dye history of the northeastern Baltic area. That is less studied region in the European context. This study area includes Finland, Estonia, and Latvia. We have 5 members in our team. Riina Rammo and Liis Luhamaa are from the University of Tartu, from Estonia. I am Krista Vricht, and I am from the University of Helsinki, from Finland. Debbie Bamford is from the University of Leeds, from UK. And Ina van den Berge is from the Royal Institute for Cultural Heritage, situating in Brussels, in Belgium. Our multidisciplinary team approaches dye history with various methods and skills. We analyze and sample prehistorical and historic textiles. We collect archive data of dye history. And we do experiments, microscopy, and chromatographical analysis. And finally, all this information will be melted together and presented in scientific papers and museum exhibitions. So, our team has 3 main aims, and one of the main aims is to identify the dye sources used in the northeastern Baltic area. Firstly, we explore local dye resources in general, and because some colorants might be a result of less known dyeing methods, such as the fermentation method and using the urine vats. We also focus on colorants of lichens and tree barks, because these were in past not utilized by the commonly known boiling water method and alu mordant. And moreover, lichens and tree barks have been traditionally used in our study area, but are less studied dye sources in general here. By our previous research, we know that in Estonian and Finnish archaeological textiles, there are several still unidentified reddish colorants. So one of our aims is to experiment with the most promising dye species, and especially with those that are giving reddish shades of color. And of course, we hope that we finally could identify these mystery colorants that we have found in the archaeological textiles. So because of this, during the project, a selection of references will be analyzed chromatographically by HLBC method. And then the detected compounds will be compared with the unknown compounds of the archaeological finds. And our third aim is to disseminate the knowledge of the plant dyeing with historical dye sources and historical methods. And this will be done by arranging workshops, by writing blog posts, and by arranging exhibitions. So then a few words about our reference collection, reference library. So during this summer, Liis from our team has collected huge amounts of alderbuckthorn bark, Rhamnus frangola. And she will make several experiments during the next months and next year with this alderbuckthorn bark. And her aim is to understand better the potential of this bark as a source of red. And also, Liis has been systematically studying over 150 years old archive records in Estonia to find old dyeing recipes for the local plants and species, lichen species and everything like that. So I have used my summer also with plants and lichen species. I have dyed wool, linen, and cotton, and some wool pieces, textile pieces. And for our reference collection, I have dyed over 50 different samples. I mean, 50 different plant species. And the number of the samples will be increasing all the time. So this is already quite a huge reference collection. And I have to stress that only some of these recipes are such that you can find in dyers' manuals, dyers' books, while most are based on partly or fully on folklore and experimental archaeology. Then a few words about dissemination to explore the story of Indicotine and its travel to northeastern Baltic area. We will dig into the archive data concerning the woad and indigo trade of past. Also, we will arrange a dyeing workshop next summer in Estonia. And the idea is to get more knowledge of different woad species, as well as to prepare woad balls that were the only form to trade and transport woad, blue pigment, in the past. And it must be stressed that this knowledge, this preparing of coached woad balls and dyeing with them, this is almost lost today. All the information that we can get is important not only for chromatographic analysis, but also to get a deeper understanding of the woad dyeing craft itself. In 2026, there will be a possibility to participate Let's Add Color to Life exhibition that will be held in the Estonia National Museum in Tartu. And to conclude, We see that workshops and exhibitions introduce the ancient dyeing methods to the wider audience. The aim is to keep alive traditional crafts, raise the knowledge on cultural heritage and its importance in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Then the next one is Muriel Ricout. Where is Muriel? Okay, yes, and Peter Broadbent from the University of Leeds, and you will present the future of colour.
Thank you, Rika. Thank you. A pleasure to talk to you today. Yeah, that's us. That's always that moment of doubt. How does the computer work? Okay, so as Rika mentioned, we're here to talk to you about the work that we're doing in the context of the Colour4CRAFTS consortium, looking at the future and stretching in particular. Peter and I are both from the University of Leeds, so very briefly I'll tell you about the university and the School of Design where we're from. I'll introduce you briefly to the team, and then we'll talk in a little bit more detail about what we are currently doing and proposing to do over the next 3 years. So the University of Leeds has a long history. It's the very short version. There were some colleges founded in the late 1800s that became a university in the early 1900s, and we've evolved from that with a very strong history, therefore, teaching and researching in textiles and coloration. So we have very strong links with industry, a very large student population, and some excellent facilities in terms of textiles more broadly, and in particular into the coloration and the manufacturing of textile as well, obviously as the testing of the results. So the team involved in the consortium currently is composed or consists of 5 individuals, and we are currently recruiting 1 more. So the main people are Peter, who is here on stage, supporting me. And then I'll talk to you about Debbie, who's here at the back. I'm Muriel in the middle. Pammy is here at the back as well. Tell you a little bit more about her in a second. And our colleague, Kriska, who is online, no doubt will be asking questions later. So Debbie has a very long history as a natural dyer. She has a passion for natural dyes and therefore a lot of expertise. And she's joining our team looking at a very particular angle that actually comes later. But you can see her expertise is in the natural dyeing and that strength. Peter is a colour chemist by training and by practice, so expertise in coloration, textile chemistry, dyeing and printing. So does Kriska, our colleague, with a little bit more expertise in analysing traditional and historical artefacts. I'm also a colour chemist, so you can see we've got a lot of strength in terms of understanding how the application of colorants to textile actually works, what makes that process feasible or better, more sustainable, etc. And then our colleague Pammy, she's actually the one that stands out here. She's a little bit different. She doesn't contribute so directly in terms of the future and stretching pathway that the rest of us are into. Pammy's looking more at say how designers and crafters interact with and use the traditional dyes and methods and how that interacts with the education aspect. So in terms of what we're actually doing, we want to transform the craft techniques into a viable 21st century manufacturing and crafting technology. So what does that involve? That involves actually quite a few avenues. We want to look at how we can use some of those traditional processes, but make them very modern or state-of-the-art in terms of the technologies and the processes that we can achieve with that. One aspect is to use supercritical carbon dioxide dyeing. Now, I'm imagining most of you haven't heard of supercritical carbon dioxide, but effectively carbon dioxide is the gas that we all hear about in terms of global warming. If you capture that gas and you compress it, so put a lot of pressure on it and heat it up just a little bit to just over 30 degrees, you get a fluid. It's neither a gas or a liquid. It's doing something a little bit funny, which means it's a very good solvent. It'll take dyes and dissolve them, but it's also like a gas, so it'll go really quickly inside fibers. So in terms of dyeing or inside whatever material, in our case, fibers for textiles. So it's a very good dyeing medium, effectively. It's taken some years to come to completion, and one of our partners in the consortium is a company who does make commercial machinery for this. But the advantage of using supercritical carbon dioxide as a medium for dyeing is that you do not need to use water, and not using water saves you a lot in terms of no effluents, naturally. So that if you're not using water, you're not releasing water. We are keeping the carbon dioxide, by the way. There's no release to the environment, and in fact, we're not making carbon dioxide, we're capturing it, so we're not contributing to the CO2 release. And also because we're not using water, we don't need to dry the textile, so it's got great advantages in terms of energy saving as well. So there's some recent research in terms of life cycle analysis that we've had sight of that shows the great advantages that are brought by using supercritical carbon dioxide as a dyeing process. And so we want to use a natural dyes in this particular medium. It's not straightforward because a lot of the natural dyes that we know, people use them in water. That's what makes sense in traditional techniques. Now, the same dyes won't be soluble in supercritical carbon dioxide. So we need to look at slightly different dyes or slightly different processes. We want to maybe look at what else we can extract from natural sources, whether there are colorants in there that are not extracted in water we can use in supercritical carbon dioxide. We know that some natural dyes do work. We've done some work already showing that. Some dyes work straight away. But also some of our colleagues in the consortium are looking at modifying natural dyes to make them work better in a supercritical carbon dioxide medium. And Peli, another of the company that Rika mentioned earlier, who is part of the consortium, are also looking at creating dyes from natural sources. So they're doing something a little bit different. They're using microbe to create the material that then allow them to make dyes, and some of them will be dyes that we can use in supercritical carbon dioxide. So we've got quite a little bit of work going into this, and this obviously is aimed at manufacturing, making natural dyes viable in a manufacturing landscape with wonderful advantages in terms of sustainability, not just because of their natural sources, but also in the way they are applied. We're also doing a big element of work looking at printing, and we're looking at printing in two different avenues. One is called transfer printing, and it's a process that uses the same sort of dyes as the one we'll be using in supercritical carbon dioxide dyeing. Another element is using water-soluble dyes to create ink for inkjet printing. And inkjet printing is a technique of printing that is revolutionary, changing the industry in textiles, in terms of textile printing. So we want to make inks with natural dyes, and we want to see what, in terms of extracts, are currently available, as well as some of the modified colorants based from natural sources that we mentioned about. I just mentioned in supercritical carbon dioxide dyeing, but obviously different colorants, because this time they need to be water soluble. So all our team is working together to help us create inks that we can then print, and therefore, as well as dyeing from natural dyes, we'll be able to print using inkjet printing, which is this technique that allows us to have some very innovative print designs, as well as fast response, to demands, low weight. So a lot of advantages commercially, and also perhaps looking at how we can make those dyes available to crafters or smaller people like designers working on a smaller scale. And therefore, they'll be able to use natural dyes to create some really interesting printed textiles. As part of all this research, we want to look at the mordanting process. So this is where Debbie comes in. She's looking at the traditional methods of mordanting, and we're looking at first understanding that process fully so we can optimize the process, make it better. And also the traditional process in numerous ways makes use of metal, such as aluminium. And if aluminium were to be released as an effluent, that could potentially be a problem. So we're looking also at different ways we can prepare the textiles using different chemistry to replace that mordant or to make that mordanting process generally better all round. So this is Debbie's particular contribution to this pathway. And then finally, we are looking at what high-tech application there might be for natural colorants. An initial thought is, can natural dyes be used in camouflage? A lot of the time in camouflage, we're looking at an area of light that's just beyond the visual, human visual spectrum, which is called the near-infrared. And because in the natural plants, etc., absorb in the near-infrared and synthetic dye stuff normally don't, we can see individuals very well in the natural environment. Our idea is that some natural dyes will absorb in the near-infrared, and we can perhaps look at that. But we also know that natural dyes could be really useful in energy scavenging, such as in solar panels, this sort of thing. So we want to explore a little bit beyond the traditional textiles and making beautiful colors, and see how natural dyes, as they're extracted and grown, but also as they're modified or created from microbial sources, could actually be used in this type of environment. So this is, in a nutshell, what we'll be doing in our futures and stretching pathways as a contribution and part of combining different expertise and reimagining effectively what the industry could be for the future. So transforming, to relate to those Colour4CRAFTS acronym that we use and that Rika took the time to explain to us earlier. Thank you.
Then the next presenter will be Professor Anna Nuutinen and Laura Seppälä from the University of Lapland. And your topic will be the futures, and is this stretching also? Or
Futures
just
and
futures?
stretching, but the futures, I think that's the umbrella
Okay.
term for this. Thank you.
Futures.
Hello everybody, it's nice to be in here, and we come here from Rovaniemi, from the University of Lapland, from around the Arctic Circle. And it is a nice polarization if we think about that we are around 900 kilometers away from Helsinki. So this is, I hope that we are a really nice pair with the University of Helsinki, which is my background actually. When I started some years ago in Rovaniemi, I was in the craft education department for certain years. And now I am professor of fashion and clothing in the University of Lapland. And my background is in fashion design. I'm really interested in futures research, and my dissertation deals with fashion forecasting. And at this point, we are, well, I should put the introduction in there also. There is some written information about myself. We are developing in the University of Lapland in the Department of Fashion, Textile Art and Material Studies. We are discussing about this development of circumstance-based design method, which is systemic and critical attitude towards the design areas. And in my case, special focus is in fashion. Laura is next to me. Maybe you want to present something onwards.
I say by own words. Well, my background is in multidisciplinary co-design and sustainability, and I have done 2 PhDs. First, concentrating on multidisciplinary working in teams and using co-design methods. And in my second PhD, I have concentrated on sustainability and responsibility in outdoor clothing and technical wear.
Then we have two other persons who are not present today. We have Jenny-Liisa Ylinive, who is textile artist and also textile teaching textile design teacher in our university, whose area is dyeing colorants and fabric printing. And then Carolina Lackström, who is fashion designer and who is really focusing on digital design. And together we are contributing this project so that myself and Laura, we are focusing on future studies and the futures area in education, in design thinking, sustainability and responsibility. Of course, these areas overlap with what Jenny-Liisa and Carolina will bring, but they have these colors, colorants and dyeing in concrete form and in digital form, and that's something really interesting that we could focus on this digital area during these 3 years. And then about our team focus. We have in the center you can see these three circles. That one focus is in design education. That's something that we would like to develop for futures to develop the futures studies and natural dyeing and new processes in there, and especially educational packages to transform the information to what we have got to other audiences. Future studies is something that we would like to go on, and we will have one process going on throughout these 3 years that Laura will discuss a bit later in this presentation. And then natural dyes and dyeing, new ways to do that. And then there is this sustainability. That's an essential part of this, of facing current and future global challenges. Not only those that are related to environment. It is a holistic approach that considers the social, environmental and economic impacts of actions and decisions made today. And then there is this other big area that links design education and future studies together. There are fundamental principles to be applied to all our problems. We would like to know how to create value without exploiting the things around us. And one important thing is that values are created collectively, and also we definitely participate to that creation. The future and ethics, values, traditions are just not happening around us without us. We are some part of making them. And then the responsibility. Different sorts of actions, activities, management issues, circular thinking, environmental impact, working life, different sorts of issues that are also dealing with these 3 circles. And then from this previous slide, we can recognize 3 research aims. Color forecasting. Fashion system is changing. We must rethink linear thinking. We must rethink seasonality. We must rethink colors, sources, production, availability, use of the colors. From old ways to new ways, what is the new color forecasting? Is there any? Then design methods. What is in the past we can learn? And since University of Lapland is up there, what is in the north we can learn of? How to dye in with the new ways? And then Futures Cone. Reflection, discussion, documentation, processing, reporting of futures visions is one tool. This is a tool to do that. And please, Laura, I think that the Futures Cone is the next, so that's one thing that you would probably continue.
Yes. So basically, we can influence our futures by our choices this day. And as this project, we are using these future studies methods called a Futures Cone. And here you can see the cone. And in the beginning here, you can see the moment of time that where we are now. And when the cone passes and time passes, the futures expand and different possibilities of the futures expand. And because this project goes to the 2026, it will have these setting points in our consortium meetings where we will check the future and we will build this cone. And here you can see the model of the boros, and this futures cone is from 2003. And he has made this cone in a way that in the middle is the most probable future. And in future, you go in the outer layers, they are the most like unlikely futures. And tomorrow we are starting this work where we in a co-design workshop look at these different possibilities of the futures cone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Anna and Laura and all other presentations. Now I would like you to come on the stage and we will have a discussion on the topics, and then also it's possible for the audience to set questions then at the end. So we will first talk a little bit for some topics here, and then you can ask also your questions. So write down your questions and there will be the possibility for you to answer later. And also through online, you can send your questions in this through this Presemo app. Okay. You all presented kind of these views of colors and colorants from different perspectives, but let's still think about what do you think, what is the situation of the colorants and coloration practices at the moment? Is there something new or topical in this issue going on at the moment?
If I may start, Rika. Well, I think that some of the things that we've actually included in the consortium respond to your question. The colorants made from microbes, I think, is completely revolution. I can't say the word, but it's a revolution in terms of the way we're looking at producing dyes and colorants in general, and I see that personally as something really changing. And if I understood your question correctly, and what I said about using a different fluid rather than water for dyeing, again, is something that is new and will change the industry. So from my point of view, I think those are the two things that I would say in response to your question.
Okay. Can I ask the further questions actually that are microbial dyes a reality already in textile dyeing? Or is it just research that is growing and going on now, or are there already?
A little bit of both. I think at a large commercial manufacturing stage, creating dye stuff from microbes requires a change of the way we create the dye stuff. So there's effectively, as I see, two different ways of creating dyes from microbes. One is using the microbe to create naturally the colorant itself, and there are some strains of microbes that can be selected, but obviously this is not my specialty, this is just my understanding of the field. And there we extract then the colorants, or they produce the colorant, and we can use that. And there's another avenue that's looking at how we can use microbes to produce the chemicals we need to then combine them to make dye stuff that are more closely perhaps related to some of the synthetic dye stuff. Not necessarily exact clones, but more, it involves a little bit more human selection of what we're producing. And this is not, to my knowledge, this is not something that occurs.
What about the CO2 dyeing? Is it commercially available?
It is, yes, Rika. It is. You can actually buy garments that have been dyed in CO2. There are a number of dye houses already built in and functioning. So yes, this is absolutely a reality. They use man-made dye, what we call synthetic dyes, and extending into using natural dyes or naturally created dyes would be an innovation, and this is where we're working into this. But using supercritical carbon dioxide dyeing is a reality because the absolute advantages in terms of impact, environmental impact from water, from energy use, or lowering all of that, obviously, is so compelling that it is commercially available and will grow.
What about you futures persons? There you are dealing with color and color forecasting. So is there something now? What is going now in this field in terms of color and?
Well, I think that there is an audience that is ready to get some other ways to produce colors, to get colors, to consume colors. And since we are coming out, or we are coming really aware of this fast fashion, and that's something that really creates the good grounds for these new ways of using colors or seeing colors. And if we think about this circularity, circular fashions, it means that you buy something as new, and the color might change during the use. So there is ready on the second round. There is some changes in the colors, and they are not necessarily the fashionable colors. They are the second round fashion colors. So there is I think that as I mentioned earlier, that there is definitely change in the color forecasting or color charts even. We are used to have color charts so that there are basic colors for certain season, and those basic colors always change somehow, somewhat from season to season. And then there are the basics that are quite stable. That there are just blacks and grays and whites and kind of brownish things. And then there are these accent colors. So there is this three set of colors that we are used to use. We are used to use as consumers and as designers. There is something that will be definitely changing, and I'm curious to see how it changes, because the availability of the amount of colors, the many amount, I mean lots of colors, is the amount the same, or is it decreasing, or maybe it might be the case that it's even increasing. We don't know yet, but it makes me curious.
Good. This was a good thing to go to the color palette. So from the historical perspective, now you historical researchers could tell something about the color palette from history. Is there like these neutral colors, accent colors, and whatever colors, or what can you tell about the color palette in the history?
Well, I'm speaking I'm the newer historian, so from the 18th and 19th century, and I can tell that people really wanted bright colors. So because this was difficult to achieve, often it meant that you had to buy the colorant that was imported, so you had to spend money that you didn't have much, which means that you showed others that you had money. So bright colors were really valued. But also there was this practical side of color that you used naturally colored wool to stretch the colors that were expensive or difficult to dye. For example, like indigo in urine vat, the vats were small, you got small amounts of wool, but you maybe got 200, 300 grams, but you needed maybe 2 kilos for your coat. So you mixed the blue wool with the brown wool, and the coat still looked a little bit blue. So you showed that you had some color there. And also because it was darker, it didn't show the stains. So it's both very festive clothing that was very colorful, but also very practical clothing that was maybe had just a little bit of color, but then also the darker shades.
Were the normal clothing also, was it colored? Like everyday clothing, or was only festive clothing colored?
Often actually for everyday clothing, old festive clothing was used that was not so nice anymore, that was faded. Like the natural colored wools were used. So mostly you use the bright colors for festive clothing, but for everyday, maybe you only used a little bit, maybe just some red bands that you put around your skirts that had to also protect you so that the bad spirits couldn't touch you. So just a little bit of color, but also so the practicality for everyday clothing was definitely the more important factor.
Okay.
I could add some few words about the late Iron Age. That was about 1,000 years ago, and I believe that there were also kind of fashion colors in that culture here in northern Baltic area. We know that the blue, dark blue, was the most used color. And also, some textiles were probably purple, dyed with lichens. There might have been some reddish, brownish, and red colors in textiles as well. But it seems quite weird that until now, no yellow or green textiles have been found. So it seems that the people were avoiding, from some reason, yellow color, or maybe this is just a coincidence. Maybe everyday clothing were yellow or green, and the material that ended up to the graves, they were selected to represent some certain colors, dark blue or purple or black or colors like that. But they had a kind of fashion already in that early years. Riina, would you like to add something?
Not
really. I just, as an archaeologist or historian, I would like to all the time specify the context. If we are speaking about everyday clothing of peasants, then of course they were not dyed, or at least not wholly dyed, but maybe if we are speaking about higher social groups, their clothing was probably different. So they used maybe colors everywhere. We just don't know that so well.
Actually, you are a very good example of my next question, and I want to continue with this topic. I have heard somebody has said that actually the variety of colors has diminished in our environment because we use so much black and white color. And what do you think as researchers, and also about the color palette that is now existing in 2023 autumn? Here, contra, you are researchers and creating the future's color. Into what direction would you like color palette to go?
I'll just say briefly, Rika, I think you're talking to an audience who obviously likes textiles in colour, so perhaps we're not entirely representative of the whole population. Personally, I like colour. I think we should have plenty of it.
It's quite much dealing with the tastes anyway, even though the availability of the color plants are diminishing. So we still try to prefer some things, some certain colors, but as in earlier discussions or ideas come up, the status, that there are probably there are certain amount of people or certain groups that are higher status groups and lower status groups, and maybe those people who are somehow considered to be the lower status group use less colors or less amount of colors, and those who are higher, they may have more money, they live in such environments that they are closer to more amount of color. So there might be some sort of status difference that can be seen. I don't say that it must be that way, and it is something that I would like to approach, but there might be something that we are kind of separating. But the other thing here is that we are living turbulent times now, that there are these political issues that might cause the situation that we don't have so much money to buy colors or create so many colors. So it might cause dull colors or less amount of colors, or just emphasize certain colors. And like Krista said earlier, that there was sometimes there is this blue color. There was lots of blue colors, and it's like in consumer research, blue color is said to be the most important, the most used color in the world globally now. Even though we don't have any reason that we can say that it's about the amount of blue dye stuff because of the plants, but because we just somehow like it.
Okay, maybe we can go from these colors. You already said that we like some colors and some not, and this affects on our color palette. At least for personally, we can collect just the colors that we like, but colors also create meanings. So what do you think, what can be found from our research when we start looking at meanings of colors, or how we interpret them? like if we look okay, let's start from the history. It's more easy. In history, we didn't have very many colors. We had like more basic colors like blue, red, yellow, and then we get other colors by over dyeing with these colors. But were there any meanings connected to these colors in old days?
Yes, definitely. The colors had meanings, and I think that they still have meanings, but these meanings are all the time changing. This is a cultural phenomenon, how people are interpreting these colors in a specific place and in a specific time. So it's very difficult to make generalizations on this, to say that this means this or something else. So, but definitely we will find meanings and connotations related to some specific colors, for example, blue or red. Definitely they had meanings for the users. Or
yes.
At some point purple or, yeah.
Yes, I was just going to add the purple color. So we know based on the history that purple was definitely one of the most expensive colorants, at least in the Mediterranean area. That colorant was acquired from seashells, and maybe here in North, people also wanted to imitate that most expensive color, and they produced lichen purple and wanted to somehow show to the neighbors that they are so rich that they can have this purple color in their clothes. And I would like to also add something about the black color. So I think black was, in past at least, it was one of the most expensive colors. So yes, it is funny that nowadays many people are having a black clothing, but maybe that is a kind of a continuum from the past, because still a few centuries ago, it was really the most expensive color, because it needed a double dyeing method to produce that shade of color. It really needed skills from the dyer.
And I also wanted to touch the interpretation of the meaning. And you have to be careful as a researcher when you interpret and say that this color has this meaning, because we see in Estonia that in some parishes, blue was a mourning color, mourning for someone close to had died, and then you wore blue skirts or black skirts. But in some parishes that were maybe just a few 50 kilometers away, blue was just a common color that you used for your skirts, so you can't take the meaning and apply it to everywhere. This is what we also have to consider every time we say that this color has this meaning.
Exactly, so that it's every color has also a context where it is worn or where it belongs. But I think, which I found very interesting, I wonder if any of you looked at this coronation of the UK king this spring. So he wore this purple, Turian purple color jacket or a skirt, and this color is exactly what Krista was talking about, and it was you got it from the snails, and it was preserved for the kings and very precious persons. So it was kind of quite nice to see that they still wear and want to show their status through that color. I wasn't so sure about the design of this, this clothing, but the color struck my eye. Okay, let's go to the current day. If we look at the textile industry and the environmental challenges that it poses to the nature, how could we make it more sustainable from learning from history, or can we learn something from the history when we look at them today? And in the turn of the Industrial Revolution, probably everything changed quite dramatically, how we use, how we consume, and how we produce. But is there something that we could learn from the history, the time before the Industrial Revolution?
Yes, I just say a short comment that I don't know about colors so much, but my experience, my personal experience is that after studying archaeological textiles, I really started to see what is a quality textile and how beautiful and how well designed and whatever, that it's really something that you value and you keep, or you don't throw it away. So I started to make better consumer choices. And I think it's definitely changed my understanding of present-day textiles and about the textile production, which is really producing ugly and cheap things that are not really quality things and, yeah, not sustainable.
I think that we could learn something about well, consuming resources, even when you are dyeing your own yarns, because nowadays the dyers want everything so quickly. I mean, the yarns should be immediately dyed into some beautiful color, and they used a lot of energy and a boiling water method and so on. But if we think the dyeing methods that were used in past, for example, the fermentation method of tannins, so it needs no boiling. It is a really, it saves energy, and I think that is something that we could apply to all this dyeing, well, technology in future. I mean, saving energy and saving natural resources and still getting nice colors to the yarns.
There is definitely one thing that from these influences to the color forecasting. If we think about the natural processes compared to these industrial processes, we know how to get something in 2 weeks, and we know how to set up the logistics so that all things that are somehow separately produced all over the globe, when they come together, everything is nice and all the colors are nice and things happen in short time. But now we have really new things in front of us, so that certain plants need, or certain processes need more time than the others. So the whole process goes to different rhythm towards the final product. And also it influences to us as human beings and consumers, since we are used to get immediately something when we get the idea that, well, we need this and that. But in future, I think that we cannot just have the same way. We have to wait. And that's something that is also something that lessens our stressful life. It is not only the product that has certain color, but it is some things that somehow systemically influences to the whole life of what we live. And the other thing is that Riina mentioned about this quality. That is something that I expect to get back. Because we know immediately when we have good quality clothing, we are wearing something really well-made jacket, for example. It is just the moment when we put the clothing on, how well it fits, how well we can move inside it, and how good we look when we look at the mirror.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say in this topic? Yeah.
One idea. I cannot just stop ideating about the moment in future when somebody finds out all the land that we have spoiled with colors. How colorful are the stripes when the archaeologists dig through the ground and see all the stuff that we have left behind, all the colors, all the colorful layers. It's like tiikerikakku in Finnish.
Okay. What about, let's go to this team. You are part of this Colour4CRAFTS project. And as we have heard, it contains multidisciplinary researchers and teams. So what do you think, what is the meaning and importance of multidisciplinary teams to carry out this research of color and in this Colour4CRAFTS project?
I think we'll all agree we get so much more out of the research by mixing a different specialism and different disciplines. Just today we had a meeting before this event, and there was a lot of discussion taking place because we're coming from different angles, and we can see how we can all learn something new from each other, and that inspires us even more to pursue our own fields and look through. So I think this interdisciplinary approach exposes us to new information that we would not necessarily have access to or very easily, but also can, rekindle the interest for your own field just by increasing your view of possibilities and the things we can do and achieve together.
And if we think about the future forecasting and co-design methods, we have a phrase in Finnish that it's more than a sum of its parts. So it will give more knowledge that would be only in a specific discipline. So it's very important for co-design methods that we come together and share the knowledge.
Any other? You all agree. Okay, but why we are here? We are definitely here to save the world. But how we are doing it?
Well, actually, this relates to your previous question in terms of multidisciplinarity. I think we're all doing it a little bit differently, and that is what actually combines to a lot of changes. From our point of view, looking at new ways of using those natural colorants or naturally derived colorants that fit perhaps a little bit closer within the current commercial model and industry, but also obviously could fit into a future. And then obviously I can see how there are different ways, how the other pathways that we talked about actually contribute. Obviously I'll let my colleagues talk about that.
Future is not just coming. It is made by ourselves together.
This would actually be the perfect phrase to conclude or how do you say, end this part of the discussion. And now I would like to ask if there are any questions from the audience. Do we have questions here? Okay. Okay, wait a minute. Dustin will bring you the mic.
I have a question for the University of Leeds. So we heard that supercritical carbon dioxide dyeing is obviously has so many advantages over, say, water-based dyeing. But as a addition to Riikka's question earlier, we heard that it's commercially available as well. How feasible is it comparatively with, say, water-based dyeing or traditional dyeing methods?
Okay, so effectively there was one aspect that I didn't actually think of mentioning. The one main limitation of the technology is that it does not work for most substrates. It works very well on polyester, the traditional form of polyester. One of the things that we're looking into is also how can you modify other substrates to make the process work for them. But to date, there are no commercial methods to dye cotton, for example, or other forms of cellulose, or even wool. So that is one main limitation. So we're looking at the substrates that's available. Does that answer your question?
As in, let's say, financially, how feasible is it to do in industrial scale?
Very. Obviously, you need the machine. They are specialist machines. The supercritical fluids become supercritical because they're under pressure, so you need very specialized vessels to do this. And that took some years, I understand, to actually get to that process. So from the early research into the field to actually getting commercial machines. But now that they are here, it is perfectly feasible. You need to buy a machine. They are obviously a large investment for a dye house. And so that obviously depends on what their funds are in terms of actually investing in that new technology. Personally, I feel there's a little bit of, we need brands to actually pull for a reason for the dye houses to invest, because it's quite an investment. But as you can imagine, you could also have dye houses almost in the middle of the desert. I don't know why you would, because probably the logistics are not wonderful there. But in terms of water, you decouple the dyeing industry, coloration industry from water, then there are new possibilities. So the limitations, I would say, currently are the substrate, the type of textiles we can dye in terms of the nature of the fibers, and the investment to make that happen, potentially linked to a lack of consumer demanding that technology, and so dye houses are using their own technologies.
And also, is the carbon dioxide recycled? Is it reusable?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So it's all closed. There's, I understand, a little bit of loss through some carbon dioxide that's actually trapped in the textile, but that's below just a few percent. So yeah, by all means, it's very easy to change the carbon dioxide from that fluid that we talked about back to a gas. And when it does that, it cannot hold anything else. So all your dye stuff you can collect. So actually, there's a very high exhaustion. So not necessarily dye stuff, but anything that might be in there, you can collect back as a solid or as a mass. So you don't have any of the effluence element. So absolutely, when I also first got introduced to that technique, I could so fall in love with it. It's a really interesting technique. I understand why you're asking all those questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. Talking about the fluids and colors, are there any other options than carbon dioxide? I'm talking about recyclable solvents which are origin from bio-waste production or ionic liquids, molten salts. Have you ever tried any of these?
Yes, thank you for your question. Yes, there's definitely, particularly for those substrates that are currently very challenging for the supercritical carbon dioxide, we may have to look at different ways and not use, ideally still not use water, so look at those different types of solvents. To us at the moment, they're not our preferred routes because supercritical carbon dioxide, it's quite a mouthful when trying to say it a little bit quickly, has the advantage of leaving the textile completely dry, as well as being completely safe, being readily available from production from other industries. So it has a lot of advantages that makes us look at this rather than selecting a particular solvent, but there's definitely ways of using other solvents, ideally inert, ideally low volatility, so they're easy to remove from the textile and keep and also purify. So those are all advantages that we see in this supercritical fluid. It wouldn't have to be supercritical carbon dioxide, but it happens to be a fluid that works and where that supercritical point is readily achievable. It's just a little bit of heat, a little bit of pressure, as opposed to something much, much higher. So yes, we might sit here in 3 years' time, or actually perhaps a little bit longer in the future, and propose different ways and different solvents. For this, we can't do it all. For this project, we've decided to focus on this technology that is commercially available, that could be really interesting with some different colorants from a natural source, but absolutely open to seeing what else is available. And some people do look at different solvents.
Thank you. Okay, but if there isn't any questions anymore, I want to thank the panelists for this, and yes, then we will have the closing, so you are free to leave. Thank you. Okay, we are coming to the end of our program, and now I will welcome the Dean of the Faculty of Educational Sciences, Johanna Mäkelä, to close our event. You are welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Actually, it is a great pleasure to be here, because I find this project very fascinating, and I'm really also looking forward to hear about the results in the coming times. So, firstly, of course, I want to congratulate to all the people in the teams, and of course Riikka for getting this funding, because without that, I think your situation would be very different. But on the other hand, I sort of have been trying to find out what are, to me, the interesting parts of this, not being a member of the project. And I think that first, of course, is the subject. And I truly sort of find it very intriguing that in this project, multidisciplinarity, already talked, is really the key of this project. So that without the disciplines, the various disciplines that actually are researching the same theme, I don't think that this project would be possible. And I also sort of noticed that I think that there is a really nice span, time span or approach from history to future, and my understanding is that actually we don't get built up the future without understanding what has happened in the past. I was also sort of quite intrigued by the fact that Colour4CRAFTS is a project where there is a special emphasis also on culture. And I think that this idea of sort of presenting or preserving knowledge from the past and creating something totally new is a very wonderful and needed perspective. And of course, because my understanding is also that this project quite heavily embraces the idea of enhancing concretely sustainability within sort of, especially in dyeing. So I think that in doing new type of dyes, and I think that that is really important. But from the perspective of the Faculty of Educational Sciences, in addition to the idea of this being an important and sort of game-changing multidisciplinary project, I also want to emphasize that for the Faculty of Educational Sciences, it is also important that there is the part that is about craft science. Because actually, at the Faculty of Educational Sciences, we are the home as a sort of subject faculty for craft science. And I think it is really vital that we do also understand this one. And of course, I can also say that if we are talking about multi or interdisciplinarity research work, that is very much in the strategy of University of Helsinki today. And I sort of also, in a way, was intrigued by the fact that in addition to that, this is the traditional things to my ignorant eyes are coming from local cultures. But what the point of the whole project is, hopefully, then in a way to make them global, and especially in connection to sustainability. So I also have sort of heard about sort of words like time. So there definitely is a very long time span in this project. I'm not meaning that how long are you going to be in this project, but I think that it is based on that understanding of the past and the history. I also heard, in addition to the word sustainability, words like quality, and I think that is essential also in relation to sustainability. And I also sort of think that the meaning of color, wonderful, not only in that we are making colors, or you are making colors, to be honest, but I'm going to read your reports in order to understand the meaning of color. So don't betray me in that. I really want to know that. But in the end, I just want to say that this is a really fascinating project. And I'm really looking forward, as I said earlier, to learn more. And I truly wish you all good luck in sort of getting all that you have promised done. Thank you. And
Thank you very much, Johanna, and thank you everybody for joining us here face-to-face and online. And keep in touch, and on the screen you will see the addresses of our social media channels where we share the feelings and results and information of our project. Let's keep in touch. Thank you.